Hello, Steve Arts 89. So I kind of spent the night with Ed Gein last night. I stumbled across the full trailer for the show and I watched it. And then I just stumbled across a documentary. And it just happened to be a really good one with filmed scenes, like recreations and stuff. And it actually had sections of an interview done with Ed Gein back in the day when he was first arrested. I think it was like literally when he was first arrested, they recorded a basic interview, and somehow that turned up apparently in 2019. And I had never seen this because I've seen a million documentaries about Ed Gein. I sort of know the story, so I guess I'd kind of switched off, and I probably hadn't been paying attention to any new documentaries that came along. And I didn't know that. I didn't really realize we'd never heard his voice. And people had sort of imagined his voice and recreated his voice, but we never really heard his voice. And then finally we heard his voice. And although he was kind of quiet and soft-spoken, he was very ordinary. He didn't have any weird accent or any weird... Because when you look at Charlie Hunnam in Monster, he's speaking this really weird voice. And I'm like, I figured they must have got that from something, and it came from something that he did or an interview or something. They must have based that on something. And I see this and I'm like, no, this is just them making stuff up. And it's like, oh, this is not boding well for this show. It looks really glamorized. It looks really sensationalized. And another thing I wasn't really aware of is the speculation that Ed Gein might have killed other people other than the two older women that he killed that reminded him of his mother, that he got caught for. There were some suggestions that some disappearances happened in the area and the time that he was active, grave robbing and that, and he might have actually killed someone else. And there supposedly were the parts of younger women as well found amongst the other women. I had never really heard that, and the thought that maybe were they corpses or were they someone that he had his lust, sort of more natural lust for women as opposed to just his mother, actually started to motivate him to actually victimize actual younger women. So there is part of the trailer that seems to have him going to like a cafe or a bar or something and talking to a younger woman and then torturing a younger woman in his house with his mother's dead body and stuff like that. And it's like, did that happen? Are they speculating? Was it a dream? Was it a fantasy? Because he was supposedly had a lot of fantasies from doing a lot of reading, but didn't do a lot other than grave digging. He's sort of always been the story with Ed, but now they seem to be suggesting he might have done more, which, if there's any evidence of that, could be an interesting thing to explore and part of the story that sort of is ignored because it was never part of the sort of myth about him and the mythology now. So I don't know, or are they just making stuff up to be sensationalist and, well, we can't just have him digging up old ladies because, we need to have some, sexy young thing in the show, and we've got to have some, gentle little delicate flower in jeopardy from the big bad, boogeyman. It's like, are they being that basic? Are they going that way? Or is there actually something here for them to actually feed on? I don't know. But it was interesting to hear his voice. I had to comment on that. And then, because I watched the trailer and I did a reaction, and then I noticed there was a shot with a chainsaw. Actually, it made it look like he was attacking someone with a chainsaw, which supposedly he never did, and it just seems to be some sort of inappropriate reference to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came after, that was inspired by him. And then there was the younger lady, and I did a second video about the chainsaw, and then now there's like the real voice versus the weird voice he uses, the actor uses, and I'm like, what is that based on? Like, are you just creating a character that's creepy? And it's like, I'm getting a bit worried now. I wasn't really worried before because the fears seem to just be assumptions just based on casting. But now I'm seeing a few things. I'm like, this, because you really don't want to sensationalize, exaggerated, inaccurate telling of a, real murder. It's like, just write your own show if you're going to do that. And don't use the actual names and the actual crime to, sell your series when it's really something else. So I'm a little bit worried, but I still want to see it. I'm still not buying Netflix. I haven't really worked that one out yet, but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the trailers, the voice, the original Gein and his voice, because like I said, I'd never seen this 2 or 3 documentaries all about people finally having recordings of his voice and finally hearing his voice, and just really strange to just hear him talk and realise that he was so disturbingly normal and quiet, and he wasn't some weird... They've created something more from an absence of anything, because he was such a shockingly ordinary man in appearance, despite all the issues and everything and what happened. And it's difficult to do anything much with that. You can sort of play it in a way, but only so far. But I'm going to go. Let me know what you think about the whole thing.